Well, guys, it is now time for my Week 10 picks of the 2023 NFL season, as we're now halfway through the year. And, of course, my picks, I am 11-3 last week, so I feel very happy. Those are my best results in terms of percentage and all that. Nice return after going so terrible a few weeks ago. And, of course, here is the regular season standings and the playoff standings at the season end of the day. In the AFC, it's the Chiefs with the bye, with Bengals at Ravens, Browns at Jaguars, and Steelers at Dolphins. And the NFC, it's the Eagles with the bye, with Vikings at Lions, Cowboys at 49ers, and Seahawks at Saints. And my Super Bowl prediction is the Eagles over the Chiefs. So now let's get to my Week 10 picks. As I'm going to start off with Thursday night, as it's the Panthers at the Bears for the first time since 2017. The Bears won the last two. The Panthers haven't beaten them since 2014, and they have never won in Chicago. So, of course, the Panthers played terrible against the Colts last week. Bryce Young played horrible. No surprise that they've been playing bad all year pretty much. Meanwhile, the Bears lost a close one to the Saints, as stuff is going right for them and all that. Oh boy, it's the battle between who do you trust more. And I don't think Fields is playing. I think he's questionable, so don't know if I can rely on. Maybe he could put up 4 touchdowns like he did twice this season already. Oh, jeez. I think I probably would trust the Bears still more in this one, but not by much. And then we get to our final Germany game. That starts off with the Colts at the Patriots for second year in a row. Patriots won the last one. The Colts haven't beaten them since 2021. And they haven't won in Foxborough since 2006, even though this ain't Foxborough. So the Colts got a needed victory over the Panthers pretty convincing last week, as they now matched their win total from last year, trying to do better than last year and get back to 500 after a few weeks. Meanwhile, the Patriots lost to the Commanders, and there's some reports lately, no idea if these are true or not, that potentially if the Patriots lose this game, that Bill Belichick might be fired as the longest tenured head coach in the league. Interested to see what will happen there. And speaking of which, the Patriots statistically are probably the worst team in the AFC, and the Colts are all over the place, being very competitive but always choking games a lot. But I'm going to pick the Colts still for this one. And then we get to the 1 p.m. games with a big one in the AFC North, as the Browns are at the Ravens. The Ravens won the last one. The Browns haven't beaten them since 2022, and they haven't won in Baltimore since 2009. As the Browns shut out the Cardinals. Why am I not surprised? Meanwhile, the Ravens, oh my god, the team they beat won't come to my head. I feel stupid. But, oh yeah, they crushed and humiliated the Seahawks, which even I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, this could be a very interesting game against elite defense that the Browns have too. Maybe the Browns will put up an effort, but I think I'm going to still pick the Ravens for this one. And then we get to another big AFC matchup, as it's the Texans at the Bengals for the first time since 2017. As the Bengals won the last one, the Texans haven't beaten them since 2017, and the Bengals haven't won at home against them since 2005. As the Texans, what a wild comeback game it was against the Buccaneers, as Stroud had put up 5 touchdowns and looked amazing, as they've already beaten their win total from last year, trying to get to over 500 for the first time this year. Meanwhile, the Bengals have now won 4 in a row as they beat the Bills, trying to really salvage their season as they're back in the playoff race right now. This will be very close potentially, but I'm going to pick the Bengals still for this one. And then we get to a big outer conference matchup, as it's the 49ers at the Jaguars for the first time since 2021. The 49ers won the last 4. The Jaguars haven't beaten them since 2005, and the 49ers have never won in Jacksonville. So the 49ers, off their bye, as they've now lost 3 in a row after they lost to the Bengals last week. As the season, after starting off 5-0, now the season's completely unraveled, as they really need this win badly. Meanwhile, the Jaguars, off their bye too, after they beat the Steelers, they've won 5 in a row. Still kind of weak too for a 6-2 team. I haven't been as impressed as I was near the end of last year. And potentially, I'm going to pick the 49ers for this one. And then we get to a big NFC matchup, as it's the Saints at the Vikings for the first time since 2018. As the Vikings won the last one. The Saints haven't beaten them since 2020. And the Vikings haven't won at home against them since 2017. As both teams are trying to get 2 games over 500. The Saints beat the Bears last week as they now lead the division, trying to maintain their lead in that division. Meanwhile, the Vikings, despite not having Kirk Cousins and Dobbs being forced in last week, which I didn't think was going to happen because he was just traded, and I thought, oh boy, when he came in, it's going to be a disaster. Nope, he put up probably the best game of the season for him, and they beat the Falcons in a comeback as they now won 4 in a row, and now they look competent again, and now they're got to face a division foe division leading foe at the moment. This will be interesting. Both teams badly need this win too to keep their playoff hopes alive. And I think I'm going to trust the Vikings still to get this one. Alright, then we get to the next games as it's the Packers at the Steelers for the first time since 2017. As the Packers won the last one, the Steelers haven't beaten them since 2017. And the Packers have not won in Pittsburgh since 1970. So the Packers finally ended their 4-game losing streak after they beat the Rams. Whoop-de-doo, no surprise there. Meanwhile, the Steelers beat the Titans in a close one on Thursday night. Yeah, I don't really see much else other than to pick the Steelers for this one, because the Packers don't really have anything going in their favor. Alright, then it's the Titans at the Buccaneers for the first time since 2015. As the Titans won the last 3, the Buccaneers haven't beaten them since 2007. So the Titans lost to the Steelers, as Will Levis really had a downgrade in terms of performance last week from his 4-touchdown game a few weeks ago. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers, close game, but they couldn't beat the Texans. The Buccaneers have been being very competitive this year, but they've had so many games where they just cannot finish it off. Dude, you let the Texans win with 40 seconds left. Unbelievable. But yeah, I trust the Buccaneers still more for this one, so I'm going to pick them to get this. Alright, then we get to the 4 p.m. games. Starting off with the Falcons at the Cardinals for the first time since 2019. As the Falcons won the last one, the Cardinals haven't beaten them since 2019. And the Falcons haven't won in Glendale since 2001. As the Falcons are trying to get a backup at 500 after they now lost 2 in a row. After they lost a close one to the Vikings. Very competitive, but just couldn't finish it off. Cardinals, meanwhile, 1 loss away from having a second straight losing season after they got shut out by the Browns, as Kyler Murray is going to possibly play for the first time since last year. That will definitely help the Cardinals maybe salvage the second half of their season, but damage is going to not be that. It's going to be still tough to recover in that spot, but I think I heard he might play, but it's not guaranteed. So right now, I think I still might pick the Falcons for this one, because Murray, if he does play, he'll probably be a bit rusty. And then we get to a huge outer conference matchup, as it's the Lions at the Chargers for the first time since 2015. The Lions won the last one, the Chargers haven't beaten them since 2015, and the Lions have never beaten the Chargers on the road. As the Lions came off their bye after they beat the Raiders on Monday night. Meanwhile, the Chargers, a very convincing win as they crushed the Jets to get back to 500. Maybe they'll finally get over 500 for the first time this year. And honestly, I think I might actually trust the Chargers for this one. Not fully sold on the Lions in terms of stats. So I'm going to pick the Chargers for this one. And then it's the Giants at the Cowboys, as the Cowboys won the last 4. The Giants haven't beaten them since 2020, and they haven't won in Arlington since 2016. So the Giants, 1 loss away from having a worse season last year after they lost. I can't remember who they lost to, though, drawing massive blanks, but I know they lost. Meanwhile, the Cowboys lost to the Eagles in a surprisingly close game, but they couldn't finish it off with all the mistakes they were making. And yeah, I'm picking the Cowboys, obviously, for this one. And then it's the Commanders at the Seahawks for the first time since 2017. Commanders won the last one. The Eagles haven't beaten them since 2020, and they haven't won against the Commanders at home since 1998, other than the 2 playoff games. So the Commanders got a needed victory over the Patriots, as they are 1 game away from getting back to 500, which they badly need. Meanwhile, the Seahawks, they just don't look good this year, especially after they got destroyed by the Ravens. The Seahawks are just not that good this year. They are really not good whatsoever. It's between who do you trust more? Commanders to finally get back to 500 and be more consistent, or the Seahawks who, despite being bad, are winning games, remember? I might take a bold pick and probably pick the Commanders for this one. And then we get to Sunday night, which actually has big playoff implications right now, as it's the Jets at the Raiders for the first time since 2017. The Raiders won the last one. The Jets haven't beaten them since 2019, and the Raiders haven't beaten the Raiders at home on the road since 2009. So the Jets got destroyed by the Chargers on Monday night as they're trying to avoid going under 500 after several weeks of being above it. Meanwhile, the Raiders, now I remember, they crushed the Giants last week in a very convincing victory as they're one win away from getting back to 500 as well and getting back in the mix in the playoffs, as they are right there in the mix once again after that big victory. And after the dominant performance they had against the Giants and how bad the Jets played, I think I'm going to actually pick the Raiders for this one. And then we get to Monday night, as it's the Broncos at the Bills for the first time since 2019. As the Bills won the last 3, the Broncos haven't beaten them since 2014, and they haven't won in Buffalo since 2009. As the Broncos have now won 2 in a row. I think they were on their bye last week. Yeah, I think they were on their bye after they humiliated the Chiefs and made Mahomes look terrible too. As, hey, maybe they're starting to recover from their season so far, question mark. Meanwhile, the Bills, close-fought game against the Bengals, but couldn't get the victories. They have a worse record now than last year. It feels like 2021 again, where they were so dominant, but then they kept just randomly losing games. It's not looking good for them right now. They need to get a win here badly to get back in the playoff race and keep up with the Dolphins in the division. And that is why, of course, I'm going to pick the Bills to get this one. Alright, so those are my picks for Week 10. I cannot wait for Panthers at Bears tonight. So my picks are the Bears over the Panthers, Colts over the Patriots, Ravens over the Browns, Bengals over the Texans, 49ers over the Jaguars, Vikings over the Saints, Steelers over the Packers, Buccaneers over the Titans, Falcons over the Cardinals, Chargers over the Lions, Cowboys over the Giants, Commanders over the Seahawks, Raiders over the Jets, and Bills over the Broncos. Alright guys, so see you all next time for Week 11.